Lee Jun-fan, commonly known as Bruce Lee, was a Hong Kong-American actor, director, martial artist, martial arts instructor and philosopher. He was the founder of Jeet Kune Do, a hybrid martial arts philosophy drawing from different combat disciplines that is often credited with paving the way for modern mixed martial arts. Lee is considered by commentators, critics, media, and other martial artists to be the most influential martial artist of all time and a pop culture icon of the 20th century, who bridged the gap between East and West. He is credited with helping to change the way Asians were presented in American films. In April 1959, Lee's parents decided to send him to the United States to stay with his older sister, Agnes Lee, who was already living with family friends in San Francisco. After several months, he moved to Seattle in 1959 to continue his high school education, where he also worked for Ruby Chow as a live-in waiter at her restaurant. Lee dropped out of college in early 1964 and moved to Oakland to live with James Yim Lee. James Lee was 20 years senior to Bruce Lee and a well-known Chinese martial artist in the area. Together, they founded the Second Jun-fan Martial Arts Studio in Oakland. James Lee was also responsible for introducing Bruce Lee to Ed Parker, an American martial artist. At the invitation of Parker, Lee appeared in the 1964 Long Beach International Karate Championships and performed repetitions of two-finger push-ups, using the thumb and the index finger of one hand, with feet at approximately shoulder-width apart. From 1966 to 1967, Lee played the role of Kato alongside the title character played by Van Williams in the TV series produced and narrated by William Dozier titled The Green Hornet, based on the radio show by the same name. The show lasted only one season, 26 episodes, from September 1966 to March 1967. Lee and Williams also appeared as their characters in 3 crossover episodes of Batman, another William Dozier-produced television series. The Green Hornet introduced the adult Bruce Lee to an American audience, and became the first popular American show presenting Asian-style martial arts. The show's director wanted Lee to fight in the typical American style using fists and punches. As a professional martial artist, Lee refused, insisting that he should fight in the style of his expertise. At first, Lee moved so fast that his movements could not be caught on film, so he had to slow them down. Robert Clouse, the director of Enter the Dragon, together with Golden Harvest, revived Lee's unfinished film Game of Death. Lee had shot over 100 minutes of footage, including outtakes, for Game of Death before shooting was stopped to allow him to work on Enter the Dragon. In addition to Abdul-Jabbar, George Lazenby, Hapkido master Ji Han Jae, and another of Lee's students, Dan Inosanto, were also to appear in the film, which was to culminate in Lee's character, Hai Tien, clad in the now famous yellow tracksuit, taking on a series of different challengers on each floor as they make their way through a 5-level pagoda. Apart from Game of Death, other future film projects were planned to feature Lee at the time. In 1972, after the success of The Big Boss and Fist of Fury, a third film was planned by Raymond Chow at Golden Harvest to be directed by Lo Wei, titled Yellow-Faced Tiger. However, at the time, Lee decided to direct and produce his own script for Way of the Dragon instead. Although Lee had formed a production company with Raymond Chow, a period film was also planned from September to November 1973 with the competing Shaw Brothers Studio, to be directed by either Chor Yuen or Cheng Kong, and written by Yi Kong and Chong Che, titled The Seven Sons of the Jade Dragon. Lee had also worked on several scripts himself. A tape containing a recording of Lee narrating the basic storyline to a film tentatively titled Southern Fist, Northern Leg exists, showing some similarities with the canned script for The Silent Flute. Lee was named by Time as one of the 100 most influential people of the 20th century. In April 2013, he was posthumously awarded the prestigious Founders Award at the Asian Awards. A theme park dedicated to Lee was built in Zhenan, Guangdong. Mainland Chinese only started watching Bruce Lee films in the 1980s, when videos of classic movies like The Chinese Connection became available. Films like Enter the Dragon and Fists of Fury were banned by Mao as spiritual pollution and rightist sentimentality. Bruce Lee was the closest thing to Son Goku that ever walked on Earth. When Bruce Lee pulls out the nunchucks, the fight is already over before it's begun. He's like the closest thing to a real-life Goku we got man, myth, legend. His mind was more powerful than his physical ability. You know why there are a lot of Chuck Norris jokes and no Bruce Lee jokes? 'Cause Bruce Lee is no joke. Here is some public comments on Lee. Bruce Lee was the closest thing to Son Goku that ever walked on Earth. When Bruce Lee pulls out the nunchucks, the fight is already over before it's begun. He's like the closest thing to a real-life Goku we got, man, myth, legend. His mind was more powerful than his physical ability. You know why there are a lot of Chuck Norris jokes and no Bruce Lee jokes? 'Cause Bruce Lee is no joke.